Good evening, YouTube family. T.O. with Simplistic Fishing back at you with some more lake breakdowns. Had a request come in actually from Instagram. Someone asked me, why in the world don't you have waypoints out there for Ray Hubbard? And believe it or not, I broke down all these different lakes, a lot of them as we've done tournament fishing and things like that. But I've never actually broke down Hubbard to the extent that I've been doing all these other lakes. So it's time to do that. I broke down Hubbard. I've got it in two different zones. Today we're going to talk about zone one. I'm just going to split it straight down the middle. We're going to work on the east side first, so the side closest to Rockwall, and then we're going to work on the west side, the Rowlett and the Garland side for zone two. So let's jump into this thing. Let's talk about these waypoints. All right, so let's get started on Ray Hubbard. This one was a little bit trickier because of the way that the timelines worked. I didn't really have any really good images. You can see the lakes drawn down here in October 13, and when you get to February 2014, it's really drawn down. But the problem is the image just really isn't that clear. So if you look here, these rocks, you can kind of tell there's rocks here, but not really. So 2013, you can tell there's definitely rocks there. So we're going to stick with the 2013 image, but there's times where we're probably going to have to move over to 2014 to actually see what I marked. So we're going to start here on Robertson Point. As I mentioned, we're going to work on just the east side of Hubbard. So basically all this whole entire side over here. We're going to talk about that today. We're going to start here on Robertson Point, go up to the river, come down, end at One Cove, and then on the next video, we'll talk about the west side of the lake. So when you're out here on Robertson Point, a couple things I want you to look at. One is these rocks over here, right in this area. And then if you come over here, this is a pretty shallow, it gets deep right here, kind of through here, but real shallow up in here, so be careful. But there is a pretty good ledge right here that you can fish that I didn't mark. And then there's a rock pile right on the edge of this point, this underwater point that's out here. So take a look at that. Also, you've got some really good rocks all around this area, some debris, some really good seawalls to fish around and things like that. Some good rock back here in the back of what used to be Bayside. It's got a new name now. I never can remember it. This area back in here looks totally different now. The docks aren't set up this way. You can get back in here and fish these rocks, or you used to be able to. Right now it's all blocked off because the tornado did some damage, but there's rocks back in here. This has been dug out a little bit, so it looks totally different, but there's additional rocks in here. And then up in here, you have more rocks right around this point, around this bank line. They've actually moved the marina out here, so I'm not sure what we're going to be able to fish once they open it up, but definitely take a look in those areas if you can get to them. Then moving on down here, I'm just going to go on down. We've got a lot of riprap all along I-30s. That's always a good place to look at. And then just whip around the other side. I-30 riprap on the other side is good as well on this side. You do have a high spot here, which we'll talk about. Actually, we talked about in the Navionics video. So if you haven't checked out that video yet, definitely take a look at that one. I talk about all the different hot spots on Hubbard, and this obviously is one of them with that high spot being out there. A couple things I wanted to point out. I had another person on, I think it was YouTube or maybe Instagram, ask me about the safe places to run in Hubbard, and they don't want to run into rocks or run into trees and things like that. And there are a couple tricky spots in Hubbard. We'll talk about on the west side. This is really hairy. All this over here is hairy. Right in the middle here is a ton of stumps and trees and things like that you can really do some damage to your boat. So if you're going to run on this side of the lake, you can use these paths that I put in here. Again, we're selling these SD cards now, so just go out to simplisticfish.square.site and purchase your card. On that card, you'll have these paths too. Now, these paths are obviously just recommended paths, so use them at your own risk. They should be safe, but don't go blazing through things because you're going to end up hitting something and then try to say that I'm responsible for it. And that's not the case. I'm not responsible for you using my paths. All right, so these are the paths. So this is the 66. I called it the west path. So it'll just take you up. You want to avoid this middle area. So follow these paths and they'll take you back to the 66 bridge. Once you get to the 66 bridge, you want to stay right because all this area on the right is safe and all this area to the left is not safe. So basically once you get to the bridge, you're going to come over here and then you can continue to move up. On the east side, I made an east path. You could actually come into the bridge and go to the east side. Come over here, you'll come right off the edge of this point. Follow this path right off the edge of this point. You'll see the trees right here. And then just come over past that little marina and that'll take you back out here. So really that's the main area that you need to avoid is right here. You need to avoid the left side the west side up here. And this whole area back in here, when we talk about the west side of the lake, is really hairy, lots of trees. Other than that, you can run all you want down in here and be pretty safe. There's one tree down here in the middle of the lake, but it's marked, so you should be fine. All right, so moving on back, we talked about that path. Let's go down this bank line. All right, so a couple of things I want you to take a look at, and this is really exciting, breaking down my own home lake, because all kinds of new stuff I get to go check out now. But we do have a little concrete slab here. I don't know if it was a roadbed or what. You can see it pretty significantly on the map. You've also got two more that are right here, so these little concrete slabs. So those fish are relating to that hard structure. That can be a really good place to look. You've got some really good ditches that come back in here too, so I've marked those. Some debris that's really off here off this point. Not sure if that'll be good or not. It just stuck out like a sore thumb because it was off the edge of that little point there, and there really wasn't anything else around it, so it might be worth taking a look at. You've also got an additional concrete slab down here. And then as you move up here, you got a real good creek channel or a ditch. I wasn't sure what to call it, so I just called it a creek channel for now. Could call it a ditch, whatever you want to call it. It's got some pretty good weed lines on it though, and it's pretty significant as it cuts down through the land there. So went ahead and marked it for you. Definitely worth taking a look at. I'm gonna go ahead and move on up here. We got up here, we got another ditch that's pretty significant. This is what we call the 5-pounder. It's a 5-pounder hole. This is, we caught a 5-pounder here off that dock one time, so we call this the 5-pounder hole. We got the 5-pounder pocket, then we got Money Cove. So we got all these different names for these pockets. This is a pretty good pocket to fish. Definitely fish around this ditch area, fish around the grass and stuff like that, these shallow rocks up here. And this dock can produce too, and I think it's because you've got this pond here. So if you look, when I zoom in, you've actually got a pretty nice ditch coming right off the edge of that pond in. So good areas to take a look at, especially if you're fishing on this side of the lake. Again, here, I noticed that there's like a really good ledge right here that I didn't notice before. I don't even think I've even scanned in this area, so wouldn't have noticed scanning it because I haven't been there. But if you take a look at this, a real good ledge right here. So take a look at that, see what that is. That could be a good stopping point for the fish. Coming over here, you've got a real nice creek channel, as well as some rocks. Some additional rocks that are right in here, just some shallow rocks. And then these 3 points right here, this is always a good place to stop. If you're coming up from 66 and you're running up to the north side of the lake, or sorry, the south side of the lake, and you decide that you just want to do some shallow cranking, maybe you're going to go up fish some riprap, something like that. This area right here is a great place to stop. Sometimes you can come here and just pick up a couple keepers, especially off this point right here. So just check it out. It doesn't take you very long to fish it. It's definitely worth fishing, taking a look at. All right, then moving on up on this path, be pretty careful. There are some stumps right here. You'll see a little tree or something standing up right here. Just stay on the inside of that and you're fine. Once you get over here, you're pretty clear. All right, back in here, there was a really significant ditch. So I marked that for you guys as well. Some really good rocks off these points. The edge of these points actually have some brush piles and some debris off the edges of them. These are really good areas to fish on Hubbard, right here and right here. Then you got another roadbed or something going on back here, so I went ahead and just marked it. And then moving up here, you do have some real significant, this was like an old roadbed. And it comes out here and actually goes all the way through here into that debris that you see there. That's another good spot to take a look at. And it goes all the way over. You can actually track it all the way back into here. So we'll talk about that here in a minute. But anyways, that roadbed goes all the way along there. All right, so then we got another ditch here. Got a boat ramp that's up in here, kind of hidden. Can't see it, but it's there. I've actually caught some fish off that area, so I know that's a good area. And then moving up here, there's this pond dam. I've never actually got to fish this one, but this looks interesting. When you draw down the water, there is a very significant pond dam here, and there is that pinch point that we talk about a lot too. And then I'm going to move on up. I don't think I had too much more up here once we get past this, but we do have a nice creek channel that comes in here. You can see it, and it also cuts here. And I've seen fish bedding up in this area, so I know this is a spawning pocket for those of you that like to fish during the spawn. And then going up here, this just gets really, 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 really hairy. So stay out of here. And if you're coming up here again and fishing these points on the left side, you got to pretty much hug the bank line to avoid the trees, and you want to be super, super careful. All right, now we're getting into the juice. Excuse me. So what I want to talk about here is the path to the river. And again, I need to verify this path, so I'm probably going to verify it tonight. But I'm pretty sure it's accurate based on what I'm seeing on Google Earth and the times that I've ran up to the river. But I'm going to verify this before I put it on any cards, so don't worry about that. But again, when you're using these paths, I want you to go slow. Don't go blazing up there. People have lost their lower units. All kinds of bad stuff has happened when people have made this path to the river. So I want you to be extremely, extremely, extremely careful. Remember, the fish will still be there when you get there. All right, so off my dad little bandwagon thing, or whatever you want to call it, my stool. Let's go on, let's talk about fishing. All right, so I marked a couple of these as dangerous because these are the stumps that'll get you. All right, they're little stumps that are out there that will wreak havoc on your lower units. Be careful. So this is your path. This takes you up to the river. We talked about this in the breakdown on the river about how it splits. So if you're going to go up there, take a look at that video. That's a really good video, and I talk about a lot of different key spots that are up here to take a look at. So we're just going to follow this path down. Not a lot to mark, from a waypoint standpoint, but I did want to show you that path. So you're going to come in here. Basically, there's some power lines up here somewhere, if I can find them. Here's your power lines. So basically, once you line up with that second pole of that power line, you pretty much just come straight through. When you get right in here, there's a group of trees. You'll actually see it. I think it's right in this area. One of these logs or one of these trees has like a little light or something that's white kind of dangling off of it. When you see that, kind of hug towards that and then shoot straight for that pole, and you're in good shape. That'll avoid all of the trees. And then you're going to come here, come down. You're just going to stay closer towards the shallow side. Now you're only going to be running in 4 or 5 foot of water, so it's kind of freaky, but once you get used to it, you'll be fine. You're going to come down here. I've seen people just absolutely blow through this area right here, and it cracks me up because there's so many freaking stumps right here. Somebody's going to take their lower unit out. It's just a matter of time. In fact, I even had a buddy that had an aluminum prop, and he was idling through here and it tore up his prop. So you guys that fly through here, you're some brave souls. I don't do that. All right, so if you want to fly through here, go for it, but use it as your own risk. But I just idle through here. I stay on the shallow side, and I avoid all these stumps. And then once you get out here to the point, you're basically in the open again. Stay over here to the right. Stay away from the left. The left is where the trees are. All right, talking about waypoints here as we're coming down here. This is a little spawning area right in here. This is what we call the golf course ponds. So you've got the golf course pond right here and another one right in here. So you've got a real good ditch that's in this pond too. And if we look at it when the water's up, this thing, that's not a good picture. That's not a good picture either. This thing actually, if I can get there, is a pretty significant pond. You get back there and you're down there by the golf course and stuff. So real good area. Take a look at that ditch. Take a look at this whole area in here. And then as we move back, I'm going to go back to 2013. Because that 2014 was just so bright. Go back and take a look at this. I have caught some fish around these rocks around the front of the golf course here, so take a look at that. Also take a look at this pillar out here. It's got some good rocks on it too. You can see here some real good rocks around it. It's this big, huge, like concrete, like old bridge pillar. So take a look at that. And then I'm going to move on down here. Again, that spawning pocket. You've got some pretty good weed lines here that you could check out, maybe like a little drainage ditch or a creek channel. Moving on down through here, just a whole lot of nothing, but you do have a little creek channel that comes through here, so I went ahead and marked it. And there's like a pilot tire or something going on here, so I'm gonna have to check that out. It looks interesting. Not sure what it is. I know what it is, it's tires, but I never realized that was there. So I'm gonna go check that out as well. Probably do that this evening. Moving on down, not a lot going on this bank line. Do have some shallow rocks along that seawall. And then down here, I marked this. It's interesting. We all load here and just blow past all this stuff. But there's actually a couple interesting things down here that might be worth taking a look at. One is this roadbed that comes through here. I believe there's a buoy right here on the edge of the roadbed, so you can find it. It looks like that roadbed also cuts across this way. And then there's a creek channel that comes back through here as well. So some pretty good stuff right in there. I'm not sure how good it'll be because of all the activity with the boat traffic and everything else, but definitely worth taking a look at. You guys have heard me talk about the 66 Riprap. You can do no wrong there. This year, for whatever reason, that cold snap just kind of jacked up 66. It hasn't been on like it usually is, but 66, you can usually count on going out there and catching a decent amount of fish, just fishing the Riprap. All right, we're gonna keep on moving up. We've got some additional rocks right in here, or a little concrete slab of some sort. You got a little ditch going on in here with some rocks. And then moving up here, I fished back in here before and caught a few fish. Not a lot going on here, but you got a real nice creek channel that comes through here. So go ahead and mark that as well. Got some laydowns or some logs that are back here. This is all pretty shallow. I haven't had a ton of luck back in this area, but you know, if there's some laydowns or stuff like that, there's nothing else in the area, it might be worth coming back and just fishing those. Then we're going to come out here to the main point. There are some shallow rocks along this main point right here, here, and then there's a little bit right in here. And then over here by the marina, this point comes out, has some rocks on it, and there's some underwater tires and stuff out here too. So take a look at those, fish around those, do some frogging back in here in this little corner. That's a good area to do some frogging in. You can get in there. This doesn't look the same anymore. Sometimes you used to be able to get in there. I think they actually blocked that off now. So you got to come all the way out and go all the way back in just to get to that back area. All right, keep going down. Again, you got the 66 Riprap over here by the harbor. Got a real good ditch that comes in here, and I had actually never even fished this area until Saturday when we were fishing that tournament, which, by the way, we're just in a funk right now. We've had 2 bad tournaments in a row, so didn't even have any good video to share with you. I caught 7 fish, and I think our biggest fish was maybe 2 pounds, if that. I don't even think we got 2 pounds, so we didn't even have a keeper, so it was pretty ridiculous. So here we've got the ditch, we've got another tree here, we've got some rocks going on in here, and then you've got the water fountain right in here. So anyways, back to my story about the tournament. I know I'm flopping all around, but I caught 3 little Timmies right in here, just back to back to back casts. I've never fished in here before. Kind of got a feeling this might be Timmy land, but if you're just wanting to catch some fish, go back in here and throw a shaky head brush hog right around that seawall and stuff. They seem to be stacked up there pretty good. All right, got some additional rocks here. You've got a drain that's coming here. I'm trying to speed this up, guys, because I know this is going to be a really long video. Also have some additional rocks that are right off of this bank line. Never fished those before. And then some really good rock along this side too. So all in here could be a really good area, and some rocks in here. And then we basically get into the golden child of Hubbard right now, especially with Bayside being totally locked down. This is where 90% of the bass fishermen are, right here in Chandler's Marina. But here's some good stuff to take a look at. You got some rocks outside this point. This point will always treat you good. Go out there with crankbaits, stuff like that. It's deeper on this side, it's shallower on this side. You can always catch fish here. White bass, catfish, bass, all of them. You've got rocks in here as well, along that swim area, along here, along this dock line, all in here. And then this seawall, a lot of people, it's funny because you see people fishing this all the time, right? This debris, because it's obvious. When you pull up, you can see all the riprap, the rock, the debris. So you fish it. And I fished it a ton, and I've caught a ton of fish right here off of this bank line. But one thing that I really haven't done is I haven't fished this break wall very much, because when you pull up, all you really see is just the top of the break wall. So it looks like there's really nothing around it. On the backside, you can see the stumps and the pillars and things like that make up the break wall. So a lot of people will fish that backside, and that's what I've done as well. And to be honest, I haven't had a lot of success on the back side of this break wall. The success that I've had once I started fishing it came off the front side of the break wall. So fish the front side of the break wall. Also fish the back side if you want. Just, know what I said. I don't catch too much on the back side of that thing. But on the front, I definitely do. So go out here with crankbaits, shaky heads, Texas rigs, all that good stuff. You can catch some good fish in here. You also have good rocks in here. We talked about some different areas out here in Chandler's I want you to take a look at. Take a look at the seawall on the backside too when it comes spawning season. Debris and rock up here as well. Moving up here, we've got some additional rock right in here. And then I'm going to keep moving. We got some rock right in here off of this bank line. Just real shallow though, so unless they were on that rock pattern, I probably wouldn't go hit this up too much. But if they were on a rock pattern, that could be interesting, especially if that lake comes all the way up to that break, because that rock would be in about 2 foot of water, so which could be just the perfect depth that you're looking for. Some additional rocks back in here and right in here. And again, guys, I have this on a card now, so if you want the card, just go out to Simplistic Fishing.square.site and get your card today. All right, we got some more rocks here, additional rocks down in here, and more rocks. So I just marked all the rocks, all the boat ramps, all the things that look interesting, all the things we should be trying out fishing. All right, then we get over here by Terry Park. Terry Park's got some really good stuff. This point can produce you pretty good. Take a look at that, especially if you're a white bass fisherman. they'll stack up here, but the bass will also stage up here too. So go in here, take a look at this, take a look at all these rocks and this brush. And I talked about this as well on the Ray Hubbard video, but there's a creek channel that runs right along through here, and there's brush piles galore all right along in this area. So take a look at it. You can do really well on those brush piles if you're good at fishing brush piles, especially come summertime. All right, moving on down here, we've got a roadbed. It's kind of out here, not a lot going on in that cove. Some rocks off of this bank. Again, this is another transition area. There's some stumps and trees right around in here, and this is a really good staging area for the bass. So take a look in this area too. Got a ramp here, got a drain, got a bunch of junk going on. Good frogging areas back in here, especially down along this area. Caught plenty of fish right in here around that dock too. And then moving on here, I didn't even know there was rock here because I don't ever pay attention to it, but here, just some shallow rock, but look right here, this looks really good. And I never even noticed it. So go out there, take a look, fish around that rock, that can be good. And then we get down here, it's funny, I don't think I've ever even known what the name of this marina is. I always just call it Sailboat Cove. Again, crazy names we have for different places, but fish these rocks around here. There's actually a little ledge down in here too that you can fish. That's a real good summertime spot. And also the back side of that, right back in here, can be pretty good too come fall. So in the fall, go to the back side, the rest of the time stay on the front side. All right, guys, we're almost done here. We're gonna move back in here to this pocket. And this is Rush Creek or Rush Cove. So Sailboat Cove, Rush Cove, you'll be called all kinds of crazy stuff. Some rocks back in here, some good grass and stuff that comes up in here. So take a look at that. We've got some pretty good fish right in this little pocket. Some good rocks in here. Some good spawning areas too back in here. They love to spawn right up in this area. Got rocks back in here, good frogging. All back in here is a good frogging area. You got the ramp here. You guys have maybe even seen the Ray Hubbard video recently. This was one of the areas we were frogging at. We were frogging over here. Landon caught a nice one over here. Caught a few over here as well. And then coming up this bank line, there was some grass in this pocket and right along in here where we had some success too. This little point comes out, it's pretty shallow, got tons of rock. It's a really good area to fish. Fish around the point if you can. A lot of times there's fishermen out there, but fish around that point and everything. And there's a real good break off the north side of that point. So take a look at it, they like to set up there too. Got some additional rocks around this bank line, some more here. Then I'm gonna keep scrolling down. You got some shallow rocks that come here. We've caught a few here with jerk baits before. I think it was more fall time, but this right here is what you hear me say all the time. This is Money Cove. This is Timmy Cove, but it also has big fish in it every once in a while, especially come springtime. So if you love to frog fish, come up here, get your frog out and frog this entire cove and you will catch fish. Well, most of the time it's Hubbard, so you never really know if you're gonna catch a fish or not, but if they're doing what they're supposed to be doing, you should catch fish. And hey, while you're back here in Money Cove, take a look at this too. Pretty significant creek channel coming through here that comes right up in through here that you can see. So I'll change that name to a ditch so it doesn't say out of place more. But when you're back here, just look at this, because I've always wanted to come back here and take a look at this, because I know that they get up in that grass. I know they get up around those pockets and stuff, but I always wondered what they do when they pull back. Like, where do they go? Because I've never been able to figure out where they go. I know they come into Money Cove, but where do they go after that? I've really had a hard time tracking them to figure out exactly where they go when they set up at. So this might help. I'm gonna go back and check this ditch out next time I'm up there and see if there's anything related to that ditch. All right, guys, let's wrap up this video. You got a lot of shallow rocks along this bank line. Take a look at all of that. And then last but not least, I wanna show you this one last spot right here. This is kind of a little community hole on Hubbard. This is there's actually a buoy right here, so you can't go past this buoy, but go to that buoy, park your boat here and cast this way. And when you do, you'll cast around all this rock and stuff like that. You can catch some really good fish here, throwing wobbleheads, Carolina rigs, Texas rigs, all that good stuff. And then while you're down there, of course, you can't go wrong. Go down and fish the dam, fish the riprap, catch us some big fish. Hey, that wraps us up for Zone 1 of Ray Hubbard on the east side. Don't forget to go out and get your card, simplisticfish.square.site. I'm going to screw that up eventually. And if you don't have the money to purchase that card, I've got the KML file as well in the video description. So take that and pull it up on Google Earth and do whatever you want to do with it. Hey, until next time, guys, tight lines, take it easy. Hope you get your PB this spring.